A little different than all the rest. I'm quite old-fashioned, wear a hat.
Everyone, welcome back to another video. Today, surprise, surprise, we don't have a studio vlog. Who would have thought? Never thought we'd get there. Do a sketchbook draw with me kind of vibe, and to talk about stuff that has like been on my mind in terms of like art and, you know, like work. I thought that would be good, like to like I thought that would be a nice time. But yeah, anyway, I've done my hair today with the Dyson Airwrap, and I feel like it's a bit like, it's nice, but it's just so, I don't know, like I feel like I want to cut my hair. I feel like this is too long, but you know, like when you have dyed hair, like my hairstylist is always like, don't cut it too short, because then there's kind of no point of dyeing your hair, because you know your hair is gonna grow and nothing is really like gonna show up. I do need to cut my bangs, because right now they kind of look like curtain slash mustache bangs, and I don't like that. I like my bangs to be a little bit over my eyebrows. Why am I telling you guys this? I have no idea. Nobody asked, nobody is here to know about my bangs. But yeah, so to give you guys like a recap of the past month, this is June 28th. The month has been pretty busy in terms of just like working on the shop update and trying to kind of fit in all the stuff that I had to do. That was, for example, I don't know why I feel so like, sorry, this is so random, but I feel tired. Like I woke up early in the morning, like I go on morning walks now. Who am I? I have no idea. But I'm trying to like make sure that I move, because of this type of job that I have, I don't have the opportunity to like, you know, walk around, and especially with our weather, like right now in June, it's like what, 52 degrees in the afternoon. I just realized that waking up at like 6 a.m. and going for a walk is like my best case situation, because I finish like a certain amount of steps that I like just like to keep in mind. Like I don't obviously, oh, I have to get this amount of steps, but getting around like 8,000 to 10,000 is great for me, to be honest. Like I would love to go more than that, but just like the state of, I think any like person living in Kuwait or any sort of like Arab country, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, maybe y'all walk a lot in Qatar or something, I don't know what y'all doing, but I realized that in Kuwait it's really just hard to find the ability to move around if you don't like go to malls every day, because things are just not easily accessible in terms of walking. Why am I telling you this? Why am I telling you this? So sometimes I'm like, why am I saying this? But I'm like, maybe this is interesting to somebody. I'm tired. Anyway, let me get my coffee. Okay, so I realized that like a huge part of being an artist, a lot of imposter syndrome that comes with making art, and there's a lot of kind of capitalistic tendencies that tend to come out, I think, especially working as a freelancer and working for yourself, because you always feel like you're not making enough money, even if you may be making enough, and maybe, you know, like you're not in a situation that yeah, you're making enough to live, and that's the point, and like to not just survive but to live, you know, like to be a normal person. But I feel like as an artist, you always kind of feel like you're flailing, you know, like because you never really know what's gonna happen. Like I have no idea what my next month is gonna look like, you know what I mean? And you really do kind of live month to month, and that's why I really do want to open up a Patreon, and I've decided like fully that I'm gonna be opening up a Patreon in July or by August, because I realized that having that kind of instability, like I know that the shop's gonna do well to an extent, but other than that, it's like you never want to put yourself in like a position where like this doesn't work out, because this is like all I want, you know? So I think, and I want to keep making work that is reflective of the things that I really care about, and it's like having a Patreon is gonna allow me to, you know, like work towards more things that I could open in the shop, spend time with my sketchbook, make more YouTube videos, you know, and make more content that I actually enjoy making, rather than doing something just because I feel like I need to do it, because I need to get, you know, grab that bag or whatever they say. What did they say? Bag? Like, I haven't said that, you know, I don't know. But that's the point. I think as artists, like I try to be frank when I talk about like dealing with work and money and all that, because it's like, it's a conversation that people should be having. Obviously, like everyone is different in terms of like their financial situation and privilege that comes from where you are in the world and your situation and all of that. But I think that's just something like that needs to be talked about a little bit more, especially like in Kuwait, because I feel like a lot of people can easily get swindled, like somebody would tell you, oh, you have like 1 week to do all of this, and you're like, okay, then it's gonna be this much, and they're like, who are you to ask for that kind of money? And it's like, okay, then you draw it, then you do it. If it's too expensive, you do it. And they're like, oh, never mind, can you do it? Like, it's so weird. Like, I'm not just like, people don't understand that people don't just charge because like, oh, they woke up in the middle of the night and they're like, you know what, I'm gonna charge this much. Like, no, like this factors in a lot of things in addition to somebody's skill and talent that they had to sacrifice time into learning, so that's just something to think about. Anyway, so now we're entering the sketchbook portion of this video. So my sketchbook, I have a page that I had already kind of penciled in so that I could just go in with like ink and like add into it. And then I'm gonna give you guys like a little bit of a sketchbook tour in this sketchbook, but I'm gonna be making, in not next week's video, the week after that, like kind of like a sketchbook tour of my old sketchbook, because that sketchbook was like full. And yeah, I think this is gonna be really fun, so hope you guys enjoy this video. Like I said, so I've already kind of penciled everything in, but I just want to go into it and like, add the details and stuff like that. So yeah. Joining me on this little draw with me. So I'm going to be voiceovering most of this thing. There's going to be some moments of some quiet musical time, but other than that, I'm going to be talking you through some things. It's going to be kind of a bit like a podcast, so get your sketchbook, get your coloring book, whatever you want to do your dishes while you're watching this video, for all I care. But I'm going to be basically talking. There's not going to be a lot of inserts, so whenever you're looking at the screen, there's just basically going to be like me drawing, as you're seeing right now. I wanted to just start off this video by saying thank you to our sponsors. No, I'm just kidding. Imagine, I can't wait. But I wish, if somebody does want to sponsor this video, feel very free to. To give some context to what I'm currently doing and my references and my materials. So I'm currently using a render sketchbook, a render crescent sketchbook, my all-time favorite sketchbook, because it doesn't bleed through the other side, so I have so much freedom using whatever materials I want. I mainly use ink with my sketchbooks right now, but I'm honestly assuming that you could use like gouache and acrylic, it would be just as good, or even marker, it wouldn't even bleed through. I'm using a Kuretake ink pen, which is my all-time favorite pen. And yeah, that's basically what I've been up to with my materials in this video. So there are a few things that I felt like I wanted to talk about in regards to, you know, like things that have just like been on my mind and things I feel like I want to open up for discussion almost. And it's fitting that this is a sketchbook video because I feel like my perspective about some of the topics that I wanted to talk about didn't really shift until I went back to drawing in my sketchbook. So recently, in the past while, I'd kind of been very involved in, you know, like whenever you're an artist online, you're very heavily intertwined with social media, which is like TikTok or Instagram or anything like that. And personally, for me, I felt like I was feeling generally unhappier, like, and I couldn't really pinpoint why. It was almost like I felt like my work wasn't good enough, or, you know, like all that judgment thoughts were just coming back at like a very large speed. And I realized that it was because I felt more like a social media artist rather than an actual artist or an illustrator, if that makes sense. And I felt like I wasn't thinking about what I actually wanted to do, and I was just doing things because I thought that I needed to do them. And like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, like I felt like I was thinking more of like in a capitalistic way, like, oh, why isn't this selling, why isn't this getting more views, why isn't this doing like this, why? And I was just comparing myself to and I was just attaching my worth to these numbers, if that makes sense. And especially on TikTok, because TikTok is such a hit or miss, like it can have such a huge impact on, you know, like your career or your you know, financial state, or how well something is doing. You know, like I'll have a tote bag go viral, like a video of a tote bag, and we'll get so many orders for that tote bag, and in that moment I will feel so, you know, like amazing or whatever, you know what I mean? Not even amazing, but just like appreciated and valued, even though it's not that I wasn't valued, it's just that I didn't have the same reach, obviously, that a lot of other people have, which is totally fine. And at the end of the day, it's not about the amount of people, it's about the connection you have with the people who are, you know, watching you, or like watching you sounds like such a weird thing when I say it like that, but I mean like following you or keeping tabs, more like. So I felt like I did, and basically what I realized that the only thing that helped with that was last Wednesday I kind of took the whole day off, not in terms of like not working, but I just spent the entire day with my sketchbook. And when I tell you, that was the happiest I felt in weeks in terms of my work and my self-worth, which is, I know, strange, but there is like a huge tie to, because why do a lot of people love to draw and to do creative things? It's because it's a moment where you feel very mindful, and it's very hard to come by that, if that makes sense. And personally, for me, as someone who grew up really wanting to draw but never felt like I knew how to, being able to now depict things in a more realistic nature, like the way I'm doing now, the way that I'm drawing these pants, for example, I feel so proud of myself, because I'm like, I can't believe I've come such a long way. And it's, I think, really important to admit that to yourself and be proud of yourself. I feel like, I don't know if this makes sense to anybody else, but I felt like before, a lot of the things that maybe I thought like, oh, I could never do this or I could never do that, because I'd never done something that I thought I couldn't do. Does that make sense? Like, imagine if you win a race and you never thought you could win the race. Everything else just feels like I can do anything now that I won the race, if that, you get where I'm coming from. And so I felt like I was, in a way, learning to draw, or drawing better, was winning the race for me. I felt like I can do anything, you know, like if I could do something that I've always wanted to do, what's gonna stop me from doing other things, like learning French if I wanted to, which I really do want to. And now I'm actually actively taking steps to go through that. But tying that back to social media, for example, I think it's very important for us to remember that at the end of the day, you are an artist whether you have the likes or the follows or the anything, because at the end of the day, those are just numbers, and you don't know how you're actually impacting somebody else's day. For example, from my, you know, humble experience, I have a lot of people that I follow online that I admire so much, but I never comment, or I never even tell them. Like, maybe I'll tell them once ever, but I am like such a huge fan of, for example, like Piper Blue, or or frannered, but I would never actively go and tell them. But seeing their videos and their drawings and their art just like brightens up my day to such a huge extent. But I never really tell them, just because, oh, I'm not really going to make a difference, you know. But that doesn't mean that they don't have such a profound impact on the way that like I live, because of the way that they have shared their lives and how, you know, they have shown me that there is another way to live, if that makes sense. I feel like I sound very philosophical, but I feel like it's very true, especially when like I compare our generation, like my generation, to like my mom's generation. And without social media, without the internet, they had no idea that they could live in a different way. You know, like if I existed, I think 50 years ago, like, or 40, 30 years ago in Kuwait, I don't think I would have been able to do the things I do now, obviously, because a huge part of my job is the internet and social media and marketing and all that crap. But, and sharing my art online, it just makes you realize that it is a blessing. And social media and TikTok and Instagram and all of these, you know, social platforms, you do not work for them at the end of the day. And I feel like I'm specifically talking to artists, but maybe you could implement this in your own life, whoever you are and whatever you do. But I feel like we have to constantly remind ourselves that we don't work for social media. Like, I don't work for Instagram. Instagram is meant to work for you. And if it works not in the best way, then whatever. But it did work to some extent, because you are reaching people that you would have never been able to reach if you didn't have this platform, if that makes sense. So I feel like that shift in my perspective only really happened when I started drawing in my sketchbook and all of those kind of things, because and just going back to traditional medium and drawing outside of the internet, if that makes sense. I feel like it's a lot to think about.
Welcome back to the question and answer portion of this video. So thanks to everyone who asked me questions on Instagram, which is where I ask people to ask me questions so that I could, record them here. The first question I wanted to answer was, when did you start taking your art as a professional career and what made you do it? I don't know, I think I've talked about this before, but if you're new here, I shall, repeat myself, which I don't mind doing it all, obviously. I originally started because I always kind of was freelancing when I first started, when I, was in university and I studied interior architecture, and I was freelancing a lot. But during COVID, it kind of made me rethink what I wanted from my future. I felt like with COVID, it kind of just made me realize how life is actually really short, and I had never gone through that before, because like your whole life you're young, you feel like you have your whole life ahead of you, and I obviously, alhamdulillah, thankfully do. I'm only like 22, but I feel like that was a huge perspective change, that do I really want to do architecture? And I really didn't. And I just was reading and working on The Artist's Way, the book, and one of the things was just kind of coming to terms with what I actually wanted to do with my life. And I realized that I wanted to be an illustrator, so I literally spent 6 months during quarantine trying to grow my following, doing expense sheets, and trying to prove to my parents and to myself that I could do this as a career. And I was telling them, like, look, I'm making a decent amount off of this job, so I'm just gonna do it. So, and then I took a leap, and I was so grateful that university with Crete University was closed for a really long time. So that basically pushed me and made me realize that, okay, this is my once in a lifetime opportunity to do this. And so I did it. Yeah, I hope that helped or was somewhat inspiring. Probably not, but thank you so much. So the next question is a really chill one. Do I have any pets? Yes, I do. I actually have 3 dogs. They're not really mine specifically, but they're, like our family pets. Their names are Dora, Martha, and Chip. Dora and Martha are dachshunds, which are hot dogs, and Chip is a Pekingese. And they're the cutest things ever. But I don't think I can show their photo because they're like more of my sister's dogs than they are my own. And the last question that I'm going to be answering is, am I going to be adding any new products on the shop? And yes, I have a collaboration coming out soon for some disposable cameras. I'm not really going to say anything more than that, but we're designing them. And something else that's going to be very exciting, because I know a lot of people have been wanting this. I'm going to be launching a coloring book next month, hopefully. So that's something to look out for. And lastly, I'm going to be setting up my Patreon, hopefully by July or August, like I said in the beginning of this video. And there will probably be like monthly physical rewards, such as prints or stickers or any cool things that I kind of want to try out. So feel free to support me on that when that comes out. But thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And I'm sorry about the shitty quality right now. I'm doing the voice recording on my laptop, and I don't have my headphones anywhere. I have no idea where they are. But thank you so much for listening, and I hope you like this video. So if you reached this part of the video, please like and subscribe and comment and do all the great stuff that makes me feel like I'm actually doing something. Thank you so much again for watching, and I love you guys. Bye. Have a nice day or night or whatever.
A little different than all the rest. I'm quite old-fashioned, where I